I want to dig into a really fun subject, and I want to start off with a story. When I was 16, my second job was working at a roadhouse. And this is one of those places where they play country music and there's peanuts all over the floor. And you feel like an idiot sweeping the floor because you just know everyone's going to throw peanuts on it like an hour later. And so that's kind of where I was working. So I went from my first job, which was a bag boy, to my second job, which was a bus boy. And I was bussing the tables. And as you know, when you step into any new role, you got to learn the basics first. The first step is to learn the basics. So those first couple of weeks, I'm learning about, how do you clean these tables right? Where do all the dishes go? Where are the key areas? I need to make sure that we get bussed first, all those kind of things. And I wanted to do a really good job at this place because most of the servers were cute college girls. Okay, and I was a 16-year-old dude, and I didn't want to look like a chump, okay? So I wanted to bust tables like a boss, okay? I wanted to look good. And so I started, getting better at it, getting faster at it. And finally, a manager, he pulls me aside. He goes, hey, so you're getting used to this job. Now, let me tell you another way you can make some extra money. And he says, as you know, the bus boys make a percent of the tip out every night. So all the tips that the servers get, we get a percent of that for cleaning their tables. And he goes, but if you want to make a little extra, if you help out the servers, like bring out their bread to the table or bring out water or drinks or whatever to the table for them, then they'll give you extra money for helping them out. I was like, what? So there was this gorgeous college girl server there. And I thought, it is time to put this into practice. So she's putting orders in, and I go and I get all these waters and I bring them to the table, and she sees me doing that. And then she comes over to me. And she gives me this hug, and she smelled so pretty, that pretty smell. And she gives me this hug, and then she whispers in my ear, thank you, sweetie. And then she gives me a little wink, and she walks off. And I was like, I'm going to bust tables for the rest of my life. Like, I love this job. I feel a calling to this job. I feel so man, after that, I started busting things and bringing things. I was enjoying my job. I was singing country music out loud. I didn't even like country music. I'm just like, I like it. I love it. I want some more of it. I'm just like, this job's awesome. And so literally, just like that, I turned into a 16-year-old bussing machine fueled by winks, hugs, and cash. And that was how I wanted to roll. And I'll tell you, what was interesting about that, though, is the basics of that job. That first couple weeks, I learned kind of how to make the money, how to do the job, right? But then once I rose up to the next level, that was when I came alive. That was when I just really enjoyed the job. I took some ownership of it, really started to really enjoy it. And so the reason why I bring that up is because I believe, again, when you're starting out in something, there's the basics, and then the next level, you kind of come alive. I think that applies to Christians. Not that you need to be fueled by winks, hugs, or cash, but what I am saying is that for a lot of you, when you decided to follow Christ, you kind of got into the basics, okay? You started praying, you started reading the Bible, started going to church a little more, wanted to worship with other people and experience that, and I totally get that. But at some point, as you get comfortable and you start to grow, you start to realize there's another level beyond the basics. And while the basics are about you receiving, the next level is about you giving. So the first level is all about how to intake. And then the next level is about how to give back. And so you find out that there's another level here of serving and giving. And the thing is that God wants to use your time and your talent and your resources to bless other people and help them get to where you're at. So you kind of start to realize that, and there's a little apprehension though, right? Because I'm okay with the personal habits. I like praying, I like the Bible, and I like going because that kind of benefits me. But then when it comes to kind of the hands-on things and kind of giving that out, that's where I kind of run into it a little bit, the giving and the serving stuff. Now, I just want you to know, I'm not talking about giving this weekend. So you can put your fist down and take a deep breath, because I'm not going to talk about that. But I am going to talk about serving for a little bit, because that is a tough issue for a lot of people. I mean, it's simple for me to say, oh, we should serve. That's a great idea. But a lot of people, to be honest, it's a difficult thing. It's a difficult subject, serving, because we don't have a problem with serving. Nobody's like, man, you should never volunteer anywhere or help anyone. Nobody thinks that. We all agree with volunteer and serving. It's just I never have the time to do it. Like I want to do it, but I don't ever have the time. Or maybe my stage of life right now is crazy and it's just not the thing I can do right now. I can't commit to one more thing. I get that. And I think that's a conversation that we need to have because I think serving is an area of guilt for a lot of people. You know, and in all honesty, we want to serve others. We have a desire to do that. But my calendar does not want to do that. And my stage of life is like really crazy right now. By the way, I've never had a calm, peaceful stage of life. I just want you to know that. I've never looked at my wife and thought, this must be a calm phase. I've never had that happen. But I know stages of life are crazy sometimes, and you just feel like, man, I want to serve, but I just can't. You know, and the other thing is you don't feel qualified, right? Like you're like, I'm not leading a small group. I don't need to be leading anyone. I don't even care if it's 4-year-olds. I don't need to be providing spiritual guidance to anything or anyone. Like, I'm not doing that. Or I want to join a tech team, but I don't know how to run a soundboard. I don't want to be responsible for that thing exploding during a service or something. Or maybe you're just that person, like this is me, like you want to do local mission work, but you're not real handy, so you show up to do local mission work, and they're like, oh, we're going to help build a house. And you're like, oh my God, help these people. You don't need me helping to build your house. I'm the guy on the mission trip that I'm like, oh, I'm going to paint the whole room. So I paint the whole room. And then I'm like, man, I got the whole room painted. It looks great. Now, what do we do with this stuff called primer? What is that? And everyone's like, why did we bring you? You don't need to be doing this. I mean, that's what I think. Oh, I'm going to get in. I'm going to mess it up. I get that. Others, now this is a very small percent, but I do want to address this. Others just may not get the whole serving thing. We talk about serving, they're like, nope, not for me. One time when I was a youth pastor, I did a talk on serving to teenagers, and I got some heat for it from a mom, because God forbid, we ever talk to teenagers about serving. Definitely deserved that heat, right? So this mom comes up to me, and she's like, well, I just want you to know that I don't want my son wasting time rocking other people's babies or changing other people's diapers, because let's just let other people do that. Other people, huh? Okay. Yeah, I love when people say other people. That's always just a clear sign that this conversation is going the right way. Out of my mouth, I said something pastor-like, but in my mind, there was nothing pastor-like there. The first thing I wanted to do was find her son and get her hooked up with, I was like, you need to serve in preschool. Just trust me, you need to do it, right? I just thought, how could you say, because listen, serving, if you think that serving is beneath you, let me say this in a real gentle, sensitive, pastoral way. You've lost your mind. Like, you are insane if you think that, because serving is not beneath anyone. And I'd like to go back to something that Jesus said here, just to remind you of this, because I think he kind of sets the example. Mark 10, Jesus said this in your outline. He says, so Jesus called them together, and he said, you know that the rulers in this world lord it over their people, and officials flaunt their authority over those under them. But among you, it'll be different. Whoever wants to be a leader among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first among you must be the slave of everyone else. For even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve others, and to give his life as a ransom for many. Here's the thing. In Christianity, one of the prime principles of that is that leaders serve and servants lead. That's how it works. And this is what's funny to me, is people go to Walt Disney World and they see that everybody picks up trash, right? They're like, oh my gosh, look, that's a manager, and he's picking up trash. Look at that supervisor up there. Wow, they pick up trash. And people go to Disney World, they're astounded that no matter what rank you are, that everyone picks up trash. Well, let me just let you know something. Walt Disney didn't make that up. Jesus Christ, that is how leading, that's what we do. That came from Jesus. Leaders serve and servants lead. Now, let me just say something to parents, a little side note about that conversation I had with that mom, because I like to do this from time to time, and I'm up here and you're not, so I get to say this. Okay, here's the thing. They're going to say, if you're, just let me put it, what that mom probably didn't know is that if a teen serves, they are way more likely to stay in church when they go to college. Okay, and I know people are worried about that. And here's the reason why, because they no longer see themselves as a consumer, they see themselves as a contributor. So when they go out in the open, they feel like, man, I kind of miss being a part of something and contributing on that level. So here's the thing, parents, just a little side note. If you want to keep your teen out of the nightclub, put them to work in the clubhouse. Okay, that's just all I'm saying. It works. Now, let's get back to serving here. It's important that we remember, again, let me just highlight this, that the basics, when you come into faith, you've accepted Christ, those basics are about learning about God and you receiving. But the next level, when you are serving others, it makes your faith come alive. Just like my busboy job, there was the basics and then there was the whole other level, and that made everything change. And I'm telling you that when you step into the next level and you serve someone with your time, something unlocks in you and you connect to meaning and purpose in a powerful way. I hear people all the time say, well, this church is so big, what do I do? Serve. Then you'll meet people. It's great. You know, it's hard to meet people when you're sitting in a row and then leaving, right? But when you're serving alongside people, you meet people. And here's the thing. We become passionate about our faith when we put it into practice. You will come alive and think of your relationship with God in a whole different way in your role in this world when you serve other people. It's just a fact. For some of you, you may feel like your faith, your spiritual life is kind of dry. Put it into practice. Go serve someone and watch what happens. Now, if you're one of those people that I never feel like I know enough, I don't feel like I'm good enough, I don't feel like I need to be doing this, okay, let me encourage you with something that Peter said in 1 Peter 4:10. And this is important that you know this. It says this, it says, God has given each of you a gift from his great variety of spiritual gifts. Use them well to serve one another. So here's what we know from this, that every person has a mix of gifts. Not everyone has the same talents and abilities. You know this. But everyone is gifted with something. Everyone has something to bring to the table. But you already knew that. That's not what's holding you back from serving. You know that everyone's different. We all have different gifts. I get that. I think what's holding you back is something that's found in a story that Jesus told in Matthew 25. And I want to dive into this quick parable. It's a very famous parable he told, because I think you'll find the real reason why a lot of people hold back. And here it is. This is Matthew 25. Jesus talking, he said, again, the kingdom of heaven can be illustrated by the story of a man going on a long trip. He called together his servants and entrusted his money to them while he was gone. He gave 5 bags of silver to one, 2 bags of silver to another, and 1 bag of silver to the last, dividing it in proportion to their abilities. He then left on his trip. Okay, pause. So you get his trip because this guy's got 8 bags of silver. This is his bank. And he calls together his servants, 3 of them, and he divvies it up according to their abilities. Like you get 5, you get 2, you get 1. And we don't know what these guys' abilities are, but here's the thing that we miss every time we read this story. Everyone got a bag. He called his servants together and entrusted his money to them. So the 3 guys that work for him are getting the bank, and he does it 5, 2, and 1. So everyone got something, okay? So now let's keep going. Verse 16, the servant who received the 5 bags of silver began to invest the money and earned 5 more. The servant with 2 bags of silver also went to work and earned 2 more. But the servant who received the 1 bag of silver dug a hole in the ground and hid the master's money. After a long time, their master returned from his trip and called them to give an account of how they had used his money. The servant to whom he had entrusted the 5 bags of silver came forward with 5 more and said, Master, you gave me 5 bags of silver to invest, and I've earned 5 more. The master was full of praise. Well done, my good and faithful servant. You've been faithful in handling this small amount, so now I will give you many more responsibilities. Let's celebrate together. The servant who had received the 2 bags of silver came forward and said, Master, you gave me 2 bags of silver to invest, and I've earned 2 more. The master said, well done, my good and faithful servant. You've been faithful in handling this small amount, so now I'll give you many more responsibilities. Let's celebrate together. Pause. So far, so good. We're all doing well here. And what he's saying is everyone is being held accountable for what they've been given. And now we got Mr. One Bag. And something tells me this might not go well. Verse 24. Then the servant with the 1 bag of silver came and said, Master, I knew you were a harsh man, harvesting crops you didn't plant, gathering crops you didn't cultivate. I was afraid I would lose your money, so I hid it in the earth. Look, here's your money back. But the master replied, you wicked and lazy servant. If you knew I harvested crops I didn't plant and gathered crops I didn't cultivate, why didn't you deposit my money in the bank? At least I could have gotten some interest on it. Then he ordered, take the money from this servant, give it to the one with the 10 bags of silver. To those who use well what they are given, even more will be given, and they will have an abundance. But from those who do nothing, even what little they have will be taken away. Now read a story. Why was the master so upset? And what he's saying is, I gave you something and you did nothing with it. And you know my reputation. He's like, look, I'm the guy. I'm going to gather what I didn't grow. I'm going to do. Here's what I'm saying. If I give you something, I'm going to expect you to use it. And if you know that I'm that kind of person, that if I give you something, I expect you to do something with it. Why in the world did you do nothing? You didn't even do the bare minimum, right? You could have just put it in the bank and let it sit there. He's like, you didn't even do that. You were afraid. So you hid what I gave you. Now, I believe when Jesus is telling this story that he is hinting that we are all held accountable for what we've been given. Some of us hear that voice from God sometimes. You hear God pushing on your time, pushing on your talent, pushing on your resources, and you get afraid and you hide. It's just like Adam and Eve, right? They heard God calling to them, and so they were afraid, so they hid. And the thing is, you think about this. Why are we afraid to do what God is pushing for us to do? Because he doesn't want us to hide what we've been given. And let me share a little encouragement for you. If you're one of those people and you're reluctant to serve, you're not sure if this is for you, let me just remind you of something. God is not looking for expertise. He is looking for willingness. He's not looking for an expert. He's not looking at you going, I need you to be the best small group leader ever. I need you to be the best greeter of all time. No, he's just saying, I just need someone who is willing. Because here's the truth. And just want you to understand this. If you don't know how, someone will show you. I don't know what I'm doing. Well, that's okay. Someone's going to show you how to do that. But I'm afraid. I'm not sure what's going to happen. If you will just show up, watch what happens. I guarantee you, your arrival at the soup kitchen will not burn the building down. It won't be that bad, okay? Like you go, I don't know what I hear this all the time, people. I don't know why I put this off for so long. That's probably the number one feedback I hear from people all the time who start serving. I don't know why I put this off. What was I afraid of? I don't know. But what I want to tell you is this, is that if you will break free from your insecurity, God will use you to break someone else free. God will use your time. Yeah, he'll use your talents. He'll use your resources. He will use those things to move in the hearts and lives of other people if you will allow him to move past your insecurities. God qualifies those he calls. Listen, you're not going to look at my life. Let me tell you, I can't even believe I'm up here, okay? I look at my life and you're not going to think, well, that guy was going to be a pastor. Nope. There was no way. But I'm telling you that God qualifies those that he calls. He equips you. He'll give you what you need. He just needs you to step out in faith and say, I am willing to go. What do you want me to do? I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to feel weird, but I'm going to be there. And I'm telling you, he will take care of the rest, and you will be glad that you did. Now, let me talk to another obstacle that people run into. This is probably the most common one, the busyness of the calendar. Or maybe various stages of life. We just had a baby. I travel a lot for work, all that kind of stuff that comes up that makes serving seem like it is absolutely impossible. We will do that later. That's something we really want to do. 10 years from now, I promise we'll think about it. But I just can't do it right now. I'm too busy. I want to volunteer. I feel moved. I get that, but I'm just too busy. I can't commit. I get it. But let me just point out something that I don't think we talk about enough when we talk about serving. I think it's critically important, what I'm about to tell you. And I hope you take this the right way and not the wrong way. But you need to serve for you. Not just for the church or the local mission or whoever it is, for you. Serving is something that you need to do because you need a time in your life that is not about you and is about someone else. Because if that time's not there, it's all about you. And so, I'm telling you, you're going to get self-centered and self-focused. That's why we do it. I don't want to be self-centered. I don't want to be self-focused. So sometimes I got to show up at the soup kitchen. Sometimes when people put on a blue shirt and greet people. Sometimes people wave at you and deal with all the people yelling at you in the parking lot, right? Everybody's all nice in here. We got in the parking lot, woo, right? Some people just go, listen, I can put up with that. I'm okay with that. Maybe there's people that say, listen, I have no business leading a small group, but I'm going to lead a small group because I got a house and I can read and I can do this. And there's, listen, people do this for all kinds. They hold babies in the clubhouse. They go encourage kids in the zone. They show up at United, put their arm around a teenager and encourage them. It's things like that we do. We sweep floors that aren't ours. We deliver meals or hot meals to somebody that I don't even know. And the reason why we do those things is I have to be reminded that life is not about me. And if I don't set a time to do this and just go serve someone with no agenda, no other intention but just to help, then it's going to become about me. Now, Paul reminded us in Philippians 2:4, he said, don't be interested only in your own life, but care about the lives of others too. Now, let me just tell you, that is not a natural thing that we do. It has to be intentional. What Paul is saying is you got to make it intentional that your time is not all about what you are doing and what you're doing next. There has to be a way. But I'm busy. But man, I'm so busy. I'm the busiest busy in the world. Let me give you some information. Today, at this church, you were served by busy people. You maybe didn't know that. The people who helped you park, the people who greeted you, the people who signed in your child, they are not sitting on beanbags all week eating Cheetos waiting on the weekend. Oh, when do I get to go back out in public? Like, that's not what they're doing. These are busy people. They lead organizations. They do all kinds of things. They do a lot of hard work. But they're busy, but they understand that I need to serve. Not that I want to serve, and that's great of you, but I need to serve. Because the thing is, this is not just about who I'm serving. This is about the person serving. I need a set time where I just serve and help other people. Because I need to be reminded that I am not the center of the universe, that is a rumor. So here's the thing. Join a team, by the way. I'll tell you, get to know, join a team. You're going to love the people who volunteer at Grace. They're amazing people. But let me just say this. Let me say something to stages of life. Because I get it. I can't commit to anything. I don't even know when I'm going to be home. I don't know where I'm going to be. I'm all the time somewhere. I got it. Or things are crazy right now. You may not be able to commit, but you can still serve. Sometimes people go, oh, I just need to commit. No, it's not just about a commitment. If you can't commit, you can still serve. Because here's what you got to understand. No matter what stage of life is going on right now, the thread of service needs to be carried through every stage of life. Or you're just going to stop doing it. And then you're going to wish you hadn't stopped doing it. And here's something that I believe, and I'm going to explain this so you don't just immediately roll your eyes when I say this. But in every stage of life, there is a way I can serve others. I'm going to say that again. In every stage of life, no matter what's going on, there is a way that I can serve others or help somebody. There is always a way to do that. Now, some people travel a lot for work. Like we have a lot of people here at Grace that are executives or maybe they're professional athletes and they travel a lot, gone a lot of time. Folks that spend a great deal in the airport and on the road. And here, how many of you know this? If you're in that kind of life, when time decreases, intentionality has to increase. If I don't have a lot of time, I got to have a lot of intentionality about that time. So here's what I'm going to ask. Okay, Maybe you're not in town all the time. Maybe when you're in town, can you catch a Serve Saturday once every now and then? And just go serve and do that. Maybe just once every 2 or 3 months, you go take your kids out and spend time with your kids, but go help someone at the same time. Hey, we're going to go mow our neighbor's yard. We're going to go do this. We're going to do something together where we help someone, because I want my kids to understand service, but I've got to be intentional, because I can't commit to anything, but when I'm here, I can do something. I can schedule something out there and have that time. You can do that. I'm telling you, even a little bit of time makes a huge difference. When I lived in Nashville, a lot of times you would have volunteers that would land recording contracts or get on tour with someone, right? So you'd have this awesome volunteer, and then Carrie Underwood needs a drummer, and then you're never going to see him again. So we do these exit interviews, and I'd talk with them, and they'd say, hey, so I'm about to go on the road. I'm about to be famous. I'm about to go on American Idol. I'm about to go whatever. Do you have any words of advice for me? And they're thinking I'm going to look them in the eyes and say, don't stop believing, or something inspirational. I don't know, something Dr. Phil would say or whatever. And they're thinking I'm going to have this moment. And what I've told them consistently is this: serve somewhere. Because what's going to happen to you is everything's now going to be about you, and even the people around you, their whole careers are based on you. So what's going to happen there is you're going to really actually start to get convinced sometime that life is all about you. And let me just tell you, that is called the beginning of the end. So let me encourage you to do something. If you sing, go sing somewhere for free. If you got time to do it, go serve somewhere. Go serve somewhere, and listen, life is not a gig. And the more you treat life like a gig, the worse this whole thing gets. You need to have a set time where you go and serve people, and it's not about you and it's about someone else. Because if you want to not get a big head or an out-of-touch heart, serve somewhere. And of course, they have that look on their face that you do of like, right? I was hoping for an inspirational quote about Jesus. Well, go serve somewhere. Here's another thing that maybe you're grieving a loss, or you're dealing with some depression, having a really, really awful time right now in your life, and it's just dark. I'm going to say this. A lot of people know this. Maybe you don't know this. It might be a surprise. One of the best ways that you can move through grief is to help someone else. One of the best ways that you can start processing pain and grief is to connect with someone else and help them. I don't understand it. I don't know how it works, but there's something about that connection that makes a huge difference. So I want to encourage you. It lifts your head. It does something to you. It just ignites your heart. If you're in that zone, serve someone. Go help someone. I'm telling you, it makes a difference. Now, I want to fast forward the rest of this talk, because some of you are sitting out there, but what if, okay, let me just get all the what ifs in a basket. Okay, here it is. What if I fell in a pit and I've been living in an underground cave for 3 years, eating small animals to survive, okay? How can I serve then? Because this will be the part like, well, what if this and this and this, then I can't serve. Okay, let's say you did fall in a pit and you've been living underground for years. Let me just put this. Can you pray? Then you can be on our prayer team. What we'll do is we'll drop a prayer request right down the pit. And you can pray for people. See, we got you on that. So we were like, ugh. Here's my point. There's no stage in life where you can't serve and reach out and help someone. And we don't just need to do it for them. You need to do it for you. It's important that we build that in. Maybe you've been doing the basics. I've been praying, I've been reading the Bible, I'm getting that stuff in, but you haven't taken that next step. You haven't moved from receiving to giving. I want to encourage you to do that, because I'm telling you, the second you start serving, you find belonging, you find purpose, you get it. And your faith will come alive when you put it into practice. There's a passion that comes with serving that I cannot explain. And I know that there's some of you out there that you're not Christians, and you hear this, and I hope maybe some of the negative stereotypes you've heard about Christians have been alleviated, but I want you to understand this, that Christ came to serve, not to be served. And the greatest act of service that he ever did was to give his life so that you can have life. And what I'm praying for you is that you allow what he did to serve you, that you take that into your life and that you serve him. And that you understand that all those selfless acts that people do that you admire, that comes from the way of Jesus. That's who came up with that. And I hope you can look to him and put your faith in him and trust him. But for those of you who hear this, and maybe, just maybe, that defense or that excuse, maybe I messed with that a little bit. You know, it's interesting to me. I'm on a stage. You probably can't see a lot of this, but I'm on a stage for Summer X, and it's a Double Dare set, which was an awesome show in the 90s that I loved. But let me just say this to you. I really do double dare you to actually do it and go to the next level and step up and serve. And here's what, if you want to do this, if you want to talk to someone, if you're ready to get connected, maybe you want to know what opportunities are out there, you just want to get plugged in, I want to know more about this, here's what's going to happen. Our campus pastors are about to come up here right now, and they're going to give you some ways to get connected and get plugged in. But let me just say this. If you don't serve here, serve somewhere else, but serve. That's how serious we are about this. You need to serve, step up to the next level, and watch what God does in your life. Campus pastors, take it away.